Welcome or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be crocheting some mittens. So what you're going to need today is some yarn. I am personally using the Premier puzzle in, I believe it, yes, crossword. And it is a 5 bulky, and it says to use a 6 millimeter, sorry, so that is what I'm using. You can always adjust your yarn accordingly, and you can use different weight, different size hook, whatever, because this pattern, it's going to be a pattern, but it's also going to be more like of a guideline pattern. So you may end up with the same size as mine, or you may end up with one that's wider, one that's longer, one that's shorter, one that's thinner, because this is going to be very customizable. So I have a pretty small but like long hand. So when I was first making this, I was like, this just looks odd because this part is so long. Usually when you see mittens, I feel like they look more like this or something, but I have very long fingers, so this works out perfectly for me. Usually mittens don't, like, they make my fingers feel claustrophobic, I guess you could say. So this is where I'm at with my mittens. And you can also make this part longer and then make like the ribbing longer or shorter, or you can customize it however you want. This is the size I wanted mine to be, so this is how mine came out. I haven't blocked it yet. I still need to do that, but I will do that later. But yes, I really like how this came out. I think it is very cute. So now we're going to start, and it's going to be a top down. You're going to do the ribbing, and this is all going to be one solid piece, and then the thumb is going to be the only separate piece. And I kind of like how the thumb matches the ribbing, but they're not connected. I think that looks really nice. I really like how this one came out. So let's hope the next one comes out just as cute. So I made this pattern up last night when I was sitting on the couch watching a combination of a documentary and watching my boyfriend play RuneScape. So I made the notes on my phone, literally just in a text to myself. And if you can understand that, you can go ahead and start, but I'm going to explain it. And I may have to pause a few times and try to decipher my weird pattern that I wrote to myself. So I'm going to start with a magic circle. You can do a magic circle however you want. This is how I do my magic circle. I'll go ahead and show you that now. I like to wrap it around my finger 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to hold that with my middle finger and my thumb. I'm going to put my hook under the first one, under the second one, and then under the third one. So under all 3. I'm going to turn my hook to grab this last one and pull it under the other 2 loops. And then I'm going to grab this and I'm going to pull it through. And now I have a circle. And I'm going to chain 1. So I'm going to go ahead, and this entire project is single crochets, the entire thing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 6 single crochets into the magic circle. So I've done 6 single crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the loose thread and see which one of these starts to tighten. Grab the one that's starting to tighten and pull it so the other loop tightens, and then I can go back to pulling that string. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect it to that first single crochet, slip stitch, chain 1, and now I have 6 single crochets in a circle. I'm going to go ahead and zoom that in so you can see it. And now I'm going to do 2 single crochets in each spot so that I end with 12 single crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. So I went ahead and counted, and I have 12 single crochets, so I'm going to go into that first single crochet, slip stitch, and chain 1. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in every single circle all the way around, so I'll still have 12 single crochets. So I went ahead and did the 12, and it's starting to curl up, which is how you're going to start getting just the flat circle to start to come down like this. So we have the beginning of that. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet, and then chain 1. And now I'm going to do another increase. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet into the first one, and then 2 single crochets into the second one. And I'm going to repeat that pattern of 1 single crochet in one, and then 2 single crochets in the second one. And I'm going to do that all the way around, and I should end with 18 single crochets. So I will be right back. And if in the last spot you are doing 2 single crochets, then you should be on the right path. But just to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and count all my spots and make sure I have 18. All right, so I do have 18. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet, chain 1, and then you can go around and do a single crochet in every one, just like how we did before after we did an increase, and then see how that's fitting you, and then do another increase if you want. But for me, I'm going to do a few rounds of just a single crochet. So I just got done with my increase, and I'm going to do 4 rows. I'm going to do 4 rows of just single crochet in every single spot. So by the time you finish that 4th row, you should still have 18. At least I do for my size. But like I said, you can go ahead and just do 1 row, check it, and see how it looks. I'll do 1 row and show you what mine looks like. So I just did the 1 row, and this is what mine's looking like so far, which I know may seem odd looking, but what I did was I held my hand like this, and then I took it and I was like, okay, that is fitting these 3 fingers, and with a little extra room when you squeeze it a little flatter. So I just went a few rows until I felt like it needed to start being increased, which ended up being 4 rows. So I will do 3 more rows of just a single crochet and show you what that looks like, and you can decide, like I said, if you do this one and like you have a finger that's like, your hand's just wider and you got a finger over here, like this pinky sticking out over here, you may need to do this 1 single row and then do another increase. But I'm gonna do my 4 rows and show you what that looks like. So I just did 1 row of single crochet, so I'm gonna do 3 more rows of single crochet, and I'll be right back to show you what this looks like. So I just finished my 8th row, which was the 4 that I did with you, and then I did my 4 of just the single crochet all the way around after that last increase. So I'm going to kind of make this a little less stiff. And I'm going to show you how I made my decisions. So again, I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to hit this, and see how it just kind of ended up fitting like this, but it was starting to get a little bit snug. I could have probably went like this a few more rows, but I didn't want my hand to feel like claustrophobic. So I am going to go ahead and do another decrease row now. I'm going to start the 9th row, and it's going to be an increase. I don't know if I just said increase or decrease. But yes, like I said, if you feel like this needed to be bigger, then you could do the 6 we started off, then the increase, the 1 row, the increase, 1 row, and then you could, after the 1 row, do another increase, which is going to be the same as this. My increase rows, and I'll put the pattern on screen if that helps make sense. So I'll do 1 single crochet and then 2 in the next one, and then on the next row I'll keep going. It'll be 1 1 2, and then 1 1 1 2, and each row it'll just keep going like that. It'll make sense as we go. But yes, I'm gonna go ahead and start. So now I am on my 3rd increase. So I'm gonna do 1 single crochet in the first one, 1 single crochet in the second one, and then 2 single crochets in the third one. I'm going to show you that pattern one more time. So it's going to go 1, 1, and then 2. And I'm going to keep doing that all the way around, and then I should end with 24. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. So I just finished that increase row, so I'm going to slip stitch and chain 1, and I'm going to show you what that looks like on. So I just made it a little bit wider. So this is where in my testing of the pattern, I ended up being like, okay, this is a pretty good width for like the rest, like a good bit of my hand. So I ended up doing a row or two, and then I would check the size, do a row or two, check the size, and I kept doing that. And I ended up doing 8 rows of just single crochets, no increases. So I'm now going to do 8 rows, which after these rows plus the 8 rows will be a total of 17 rows. So I will see you on row 17. And again, like I said, you could, this just was an increase. You could do one more row, and if it's still not big enough, you can do another increase, or you could do more or less rows. But I'm going to go ahead and do 8 single crochets all the way, or sorry, 8 rows of single crochet all the way around to make it longer to fit my personal hand size. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and I will see you in 8 rows. So I have just finished the 8th row of the single crochets, which makes me on, or just finishing the 17th row. And let me show you what it looks like on. And when I put it on, it's starting to get snug again. So this is where I'm deciding to increase again. And we're going to be starting the thumb hole soon. We only have, I think, 3 more rows until the thumb hole. So for the next increase, we're following the same pattern we always do, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first spot, single crochet in the second spot, single crochet in the third spot, and then in the fourth spot, 2 single crochets. So again, that is going to be 1, 2, 3, and then 2 in the fourth one. And then once you go all the way around, you should end with 30, and that's if you're following my pattern. Again, if you've done more or less increases, you could have a different number. I'm just letting you know what I have for mine. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this and make sure I end with 30, and then I will be right back. And again, you should, with the pattern I do, always end your last spot with an increase. So that was the last spot I did, and it did have an increase, but just to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and count, make sure I have 30. So I do have 30, so I'm going to go into that first one, pull up a loop, slip stitch, and chain 1. And this is what I have so far. Not that it made a huge difference because I did just add the 1 row, but I just needed to increase it. So now I'm going to do 2 more rows of just single crochet. So I'm just going to do a single crochet all the way around twice, and I'm not doing any increase, so it should still I'm not doing any increases, so it will still be 30 single crochets all the way around. So I will meet you once I finish these 2 rows. So I just finished the last spot on my last row. So I'm going to go into that first one, slip stitch and chain 1. And this is where I'm going to start the thumb hole. So on the other glove, I'm just going to show you on this one. So on this glove, I went all the way around and then I stopped 4 stitches away. So I started here. This is how I want, it'll make more sense in a minute, but I want to give you an idea. So this is the direction we're going. So I put my glove on, so this is on this side. I do it all the way around, and then I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, because that was kind of a good spot for my thumb. So I went all the way around until I got to the spot where there was 4 in between, and I stopped, and then I chained 1, and I turned my work, and then I went back around the other direction. But I'm gonna do more than that. I'm gonna increase. I'm gonna do 2 on each side. It'll make more sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on that now, so it'll make more sense for you. I'm trying to over explain, and I feel like I'm making it worse. So I'm just gonna go all the way around with single crochet. And remember, since at least on my size there was 30 all the way around, so I stopped on the 26th one, so I have 4 left. But I'm gonna stop here. I'm not gonna keep going and finish it off that way. I'm gonna chain 1. I'm gonna turn my work, and then in that first single crochet, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. And then I'm going to continue to do 1 all the way around until I get to my last one over here, and I'm going to do 2 again. But I'm going to go ahead and just do my 1 all the way around and meet you there to show you in case you're a little bit confused. Alright, so I have gone all the way around. I have 1 stitch left to go, so it's starting to look like this. I have 1 stitch left. I'm going to go into that last one, and I'm going to proceed to do 2 single crochets into that one spot. So I did 1 increase on either side to angle it to start making the hole. So this is what it looks like so far. So there is an indent now for my thumb. And I am going to go ahead and chain 1, turn my work, and into that first single crochet, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do 2 single crochets again. And like I said before, if you feel like this is too big or too small, you can do more or less rows or increases. But I'm going to show you how I do my thumb hole, and so you can see and then decide if that fits or if you need to do more or less. So there may be a little bit of frogging needed. I know on my first mitten, I had to frog. I only had to frog twice, so it wasn't too bad. But yes, I'm going to do my 1 single crochet all the way around and meet you back here to show you what I'm doing there. So I am about to go into my last single crochet. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to do 1 single crochet, I'm going to go into it again and do 2. So now I have done 3 rows, 1 just regular, I went all the way around and I stopped so that I had 4 in the middle and I did no increases. I chained 1, I went back and I increased 1 on each side, chained, went up, increased 1 on each side. So those are my 3 rows. I hope that made sense. And this is what it looks like on so far. And this is where I'm going to close it up, but I'm not going to connect it directly. I'm going to, and for my personal thumb size, I'm going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then into that first single crochet on this side, I'm going to go in, pull up a loop, slip stitch, chain 1. So now I have a thumb hole. So now I'm going to go back all the way around the entire thing and do 1 single crochet in every single spot, including on these chain 3. I'm going to do 3, so it's going to be 1 single crochet in each of the 3. And I believe that should have me, I'll double check that in just a moment. I'm going to count all my stitches, so give me 1 second to count that. So yes, I was correct. So that will be 33 stitches all the way around if you're following my pattern and my size. But like I said, if you need to adjust by adding more increases or more rows or less increases, do that. But like I said, I'm going to go all the way around with 1 single crochet in every single spot, ending with a total of 30, and then I'll put it on to show you what it looks like. So now I am coming to my last single crochet spot, and this is where I chained 3. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the first loop and just do a single crochet, second loop, single crochet, and the third and final one, slip stitch, and then going into that first one, pull up a loop, slip stitch, chain 1, and this is what we have so far. This is the thumb hole. I'll go ahead and put it on to show you it on this hand, because that's the hand I'm technically, I guess, making this one for, but I guess it doesn't really actually matter. But this is what I have so far. It's starting to look like a mitten. But on me, again, like I said, it does look very weird because, like, most mittens aren't this long. They're more like kind of like this shaped, but my fingers are very long, so I had to do this. But that's when, after doing that, I noticed it's starting to get a little bit loose and a little bit wonky, so this is when I decided to do a decrease. And then let me show you it on this hand. But yeah, I'm working both of them the same, so technically, even though this one looks like it's made for this hand, I can, it's because it's just kind of been molded, I can also just flip it around, wear it on this hand, and then once I've worn it on this hand, once I've worn it on that hand and moved it around, now it looks like it's made for that hand. So you can really wear it on either hand, and it ends up being just fine. See? And then again, it got molded, now it looks like it's meant for this hand, so it doesn't really matter. So for my decreases, I'm going to be decreasing 5. So what I'm going to do is similar to how I do increases. So on this one, I'm going to go 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4. So 4 single crochets, 1 in each spot. And then for my decrease, you can skip a stitch and go into the next one and do a single crochet, but I don't like the hole that leaves. So I'm going to go in to my next spot, pull up a loop, into my next spot, pull up a loop. So now I have 3 loops on there, and I'm just going to go through all 3. So that just turned 2 spots into 1. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a decrease. So I'm going to show that to you one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then decrease. So I'm gonna keep going around. That was 2, so I need to do 3 more decreases. And on this one, I believe I counted correct. I believe I only did the 5 decreases. I could be wrong, but I ended up with 1 single crochet before I do my slip stitch into the next one. And the way I determined how much I needed to decrease was I put it on and I kind of like cinched it and grabbed the excess, which now it's not there because I just cinched it, but I grabbed it and I was like, okay, that's not that many stitches. And I kind of counted how many stitches were in there. And it ended up being about 5, so I just went ahead and did 5, and this, see, it kind of is pulling it in now, it's not so loose. So now I'm going to go ahead and go around everything one more time, and let's see, I had 33 stitches minus 5, so I should be at 28 stitches, but let me double check. Okay, yes, so I have 28 stitches. And like I said, if you need to do more or less increases, more or less decreases, more or less rows, go for it. I'm going to go ahead, now that I've just done a decrease, and just do 1 row all the way around, and I will be right back. All right, so now I am finishing up that row. And now I'm going to do another decrease of 5, but this time I want to start the row and end the row with a decrease, and then spread the other 3 throughout here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a decrease, which remember I'm going to go into that first spot, pull up a loop, into the second spot, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. And then, let's see, I'm going to just kind of chain, or put a stitch marker in a couple different spots to try to spread it out as evenly as I can. In places that seem fairly spread out and even. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. And for this row, it's not an exact science. There's like 5 or 6 stitches before you do a decrease, just making sure you do 3 throughout it, and then the 1 before and 1 after, so there is a total of 5. But the 1 before and the 1 after is important to kind of cinch it in, at least on my glove it is. And remember, for the last one, like I said, you want to start and end with a decrease. So in the last 2 loops, I'm going to go in, pull up a loop, in, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. Slip stitch and chain 1. And we had 28. We just decreased 5, so we should have 23. So I'm gonna, real quick, I'm gonna count it, and then I'm gonna try it on and show you. All right, yes, so there is 23, so I'm gonna go ahead and try this on. And this is where I'm at so far. I'm going to do 1 more round all the way around to kind of just finish this off. Make it just a teeny bit longer, and then I'm gonna do the ribbing, which I am doing my usual length where you chain 6, use one as a turning chain, and then there's 5 stitches in the ribbing, and you do a single crochet in the back loop of each row all the way around. So I'm going to do one more single crochet all the way around to get started on that. So I just finished my last one, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the first one, pull up a loop, slip stitch, and I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then using that last one as a turning chain, I'm going to go into the next one, and I'm going to do 5 single crochets, 1 in each loop all the way down. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to go in, slip stitch, go into the next one, slip stitch, chain 1, turn my work, and then let me zoom you in. And then it's kind of hard to tell because it's colorful, but there's a V at the top of the stitches. Instead of going through, just go up here and show you. Instead of going all the way through both, like you would usually do, like we've been doing, you're gonna skip the first one, and you're gonna go in just in the back loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 5th one, so I'm gonna go in the back loop, do a single crochet, back loop, single crochet. I'm gonna do that all the way up. And then I'm gonna slip stitch, or sorry, I'm gonna chain 1. I'm gonna turn my work, and then again I'm going to go into the back loop and do a single crochet all the way down. And then once you finish those 5 and you get back to the bottom, you're gonna go into the next single crochet spot, go in, pull up a loop, slip stitch, go into the second one, pull up a loop, slip stitch, chain 1, and then you're going to keep repeating that into the back loop up and down and all the way around. And then when we get to the end, I'll show you what I did to finish it off. So I will be right back. So I am about to come down and do my last, or what seems to be my almost last row, and there's only one stitch, so I'm not going to be able to go in one and then go into the second one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, I'm going to slip stitch into that one, I'm going to go up one more time, and that's when I'll connect it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to show you. So I finished that. I'm going to come down here, go into the last stitch, because I want to finish off up here, so when I'm stitching it together, I'm stitching down, so my tail is down here, making it easier to weave in. I mean, it's not going to be hard to weave in up here, because we're going to go do a stitch around, but so I'm going to pull in there, slip stitch, turn it, I'm going to slip stitch, I'm then going to kind of flipping this seemingly inside out. I'm going to go into the first stitch on this one, and then the first stitch on this one, grab that loop, pull it through, pull it through, and I'm going to go through the second one on each side, grab a loop, pull it through, slip stitch, and I'm going to keep doing that for each of the stitches. So that was 2, this is 3, 4, and then 5, and then just because at the very bottom is going to be a little bit of a gap, I'm going to go in just in a spot where I can to cover up that gap. Which is proving to be a little difficult for some reason. There we go. Just kind of went in somewhere on that one, went in. I'm going to slip stitch twice, pull out a tail to weave in later, cut it. Just going to put that in there. And then where I stitched it up, I'm going to go in this side, I'm going to go in this loop. I'm going to take my string, I'm going to do a slip stitch. I'm going to put that around here. Pull that through. Pull this over so I can kind of crochet over it. Do a slip stitch, go into that same spot and do a single crochet. And then in all of the little loops that are just kind of open and available, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do a I'm going to do a single crochet. So it's going to kind of be like these two really obvious ones and then these two really obvious ones. I'm not going to like force it in right here. And I wanted to do this in a slightly smaller hook. So let me grab a smaller hook. Just because I want this to kind of help bring the wrist of this in just a little bit more, just to make sure that there's not too much gapping. So I just went down to a 5mm hook. I think on my other one I used a 4.5, but it was just what I had on me at the moment, so it doesn't really matter too much. And I'm just crocheting over the tail, so I don't have to weave it in as much either. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this so I have a little bit to work with when I'm weaving it in. Let's see, this finish with the border versus this finish without the border, it does give it a much more finished look. Which I get, you know, right now the yarn doesn't match because this is striping yarn and I'm on different spots, but that is fine. Right, and I'm going into my last spot. So now I'm going to slip stitch, and that's just going to help close up this bit. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first one. Chain 2, pull out a tail, and snip. I'm just going to go ahead and pull that tight to get it out of the way. And I'm going to try this on to show you what it looks like. So this is what I have so far, which I know, like, because of the size and shape I'm making mine, it does look very awkward, because this part just seems really long and really pointed, but that is just the shape of my hand. And this is what I have so far. I'm really happy with it. I think this is a good length that if I'm wearing a coat, it'll set over this. And this is also a good tightness, it could set over this, or if I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, I can tuck it in under this as well and have my jacket lay over it. And it's just the perfect length. I'm really happy with it. And again, this is made so you can wear it on either hand. And I used striping yarn and I used it at random, so even though they don't match up perfectly, they still match. They don't match identically. which is what I was wanting. But you could also just line up the yarn so things work out better if you want. But this is the look I was looking for. So now we're gonna work on the thumb hole. So I will be right back to work on the thumb hole. I don't remember where I left off. I have taken a little break. It's the next day. Um, so now I'm gonna weave everything in at the end, but now I'm starting on the thumb, and since like the seam you can kind of see is right here, this is where I'm gonna start. Somewhere around here. I'm gonna just find a place right there seems fine. Go in there. I'm gonna grab my yarn. Oh, sorry. Make a slip knot. Pull that through. Slip stitch, and into that same exact spot, I'm gonna pull up a loop and I'm gonna do a single crochet. And now I'm gonna go around in all of the available spots. Some spots, because the way we did this, will actually be legit spots, and then some spots will be like the side of rows. And I'm gonna go all the way around, and if you're doing the size I did, I had 15 on my last one, so I'm just gonna try to make sure I have 15 on this one. Again, yours could be more, could be less, depending on the size you're making. Just make sure you have the same amount on each one, so you don't have one with a really tight thumb hole and a really loose one or whatever. So I'm gonna go around in every spot I have available and make sure I have 15 single crochets. And I was crocheting over the thread that I started. I'm gonna go ahead and drop that so I can finish it later. Alright, so I got exactly 15 as I was crocheting. I was counting, and I'm just gonna double check to make sure it actually is 15. Yep. Okay, so I have 15. So now I'm gonna go ahead into that first single crochet, pull up a loop, slip stitch, chain one, and now I'm gonna go all the way around 2 more times, doing a single crochet in each one, just so that like the one I just did counts as 1 row, and then I'm going to do 2 more rows, so there's going to be 3 rows of single crochet. Again, like I said, you can alter this, do more or less, do increases, decreases, whatever you need to make it fit you. I'm trying to give you like the gist of a pattern so you can make it as customized to your hand or whoever's hand you're making this for as you want. So this isn't an exact pattern unless you just happen to have the same size hands as me. Oh, I got a little visity. He was stretching. And now he's playing. And now I think he's falling back to sleep. Okay. He's sleeping by the window, watching the birds in the lawn. Oh, I don't think he knows what he wants to do. Okay, so I just got done doing my 3 rows, and now on this one, I'm going to decrease 3. And there's 15, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, and then a decrease. So, single crochet in the first one, single crochet in the second one, single crochet in the third one, and then in the 4th spot, go in, pull up a loop, then to the 5th spot, go in, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. You just turn 2 single crochets into 1. Now you can do that 2 more times, so you will decrease a total of 3. I'm going to go ahead and get that done. So I just decreased by 3, so there are 12. You should have 12 single crochets all the way around. I'm going to double check, make sure I do. I do, and again, you can decrease more or less, and also depending on how many rows or how many stitches you had in your row and how much you decreased, your number could be different. But for what I did, I started off with 15, I took 3 away, I have 12 now. I'm going to do another decrease of 3. So what that's going to look like for this one is I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the first one, 1 single crochet in the second one, go into the third one, pull up a loop, go into the fourth one, pull up a loop, pull through all 3 loops. And I'm going to do that 2 more times, so I decrease 3. So 1, 2, and then 3, 4. And now you should have 9 stitches all the way around because you had 15. We did a decrease of 3, and then we had 12. We did a decrease of 3, and now there should be 9 all the way around. And now I'm going to do a single crochet in each spot all the way around for 4 rows. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 4 rows of single crochets, and I will be right back. So I just got done doing my 4 rows of just 1 single crochet in every single spot. So that would make this 9 rows in total. So I'm going to go ahead and do my final row, which is going to be the last decrease and the last row for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, do 1 single crochet, and then go into the next one, pull up a loop, go to the next one, pull up a loop, and decrease. So since there are 9, I'm going to be doing 3 decreases. So I just did that one, so I'm going to do 2 more. Go in, pull up a loop, single crochet, go in, pull up a loop, go into the next one, pull up a loop, go into the next one, single crochet, go to the next one, pull up a loop, go into the next one, pull up a loop, and pull through. Go into the first one, slip stitch, chain 2, and pull out enough tail to finish sewing this all up with. And then to finish off the thumb, because there's a hole at the end, you don't necessarily want that. I guess maybe if you have like really long nails, you could leave the end open, but I'm not going to do that. So the way I do this is, I'm going to zoom you in maybe so you can see it better. There we go. So how there's the loop itself, it's a single crochet, and you go in usually like that, and you work your single crochet, or if you're doing the ribbing like we were just doing, you go in the back one only. On this one, we're going to be going into the front one only. So starting with the first one, I'm going to go into just the front loop. I'm going to go ahead and pull that first one through because it's easier that way. And then I'm going to go into the front one of this one, kind of spin it around, go into the front one of the next one, pull through, and I'm going to do that all the way around the tip of the thumb. And then I'm just going to pull that and close that up. And I'm going to skip the one I just came out of. I'm going to go back and through some of them just to kind of tie this off a little bit. And if you hear some weird wheezing noises, my cat, he likes to space out and stare at the window and he starts to wheeze. It's like he's asleep, but his eyes are open and he's fully conscious and he's just looking out the window like a little weirdo. Okay, now I've done that a few times. I'm gonna go straight through the middle of the thumb and pull that in side just to weave it in where it's not visible. And then I will turn this inside out and weave it in. My hand was stuck. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom you out a bit. And I'm going to flip this whole thing inside out, but here's the fit of the glove. I'm very happy with it. And again, when you put it on one hand and you kind of move your hand around a bit, it kind of molds to your hand, and then when you take it off, it does look like it was meant for that hand, and you're like, oh, I couldn't possibly put it on the other one because now the thumb's up, like this is shaped like a hand, but you can. You can easily put it on, and now it looks like it's meant for this hand, so there, you can use them however you want. But yes, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna flip this inside out. And then I am gonna block mine a little bit, because they do need a little bit of blocking. I'm just gonna put them, like, I'm just gonna steam them lightly, put them on, and kind of like let them mold to my hand a little bit, and then let them cool and dry. Oh, I accidentally put this through here when I was pulling it through. Okay. So what I'm gonna do with this is, I'm not sure. I'm just weaving them in. Thought you'd like to see the process. Because I know when I was first starting out, no one showed me. I just had to figure it out. So I like to try to pop that into some of my videos sometimes. Oh, here's a good spot. This is kind of like the seam. So I'm just going to put it through here. And just kind of... Alright, that finishes off the thumb. I'm going to do the tip of the glove. Make sure to pull that tight. And for my magic circles, the way I like to finish those off, let me zoom in, is whichever way, like, it's coming this way out of the circle, so I'm going to skip one of the loops going over it, and then just put it back through all those same spots in the opposite direction. At least once. I'm going to do this at least once. And if I feel like that's secure, depending on the project, depending on the texture of the yarn, I'll call that good and I'll snip it. But I'm just gonna go back in the opposite direction, skipping over a loop. Just one more little tiny bit. And cut it. Alright, and for this part, this is the one that I crocheted over. So again, I'm going to skip one of the loops and then just go in the opposite direction under some of the spots. And for the top of the glove, I like to, right here, right in the middle of that B, I like to go into it, right in the middle of that B. And then go through here. Like this little stitch here that's on all of them. Come down and pull that tight to kind of hide the knot. And then just start going through, and it's hard to tell because I'm using different colored yarn, like colorful yarn. If this was solid, it would make way more sense. But yeah, I think you get the gist now, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up and I will be right back. Alright, and here are the finished products, and I used a yarn that has striping and like different colors and stuff like that in it, which I knew was going to make them look different. Like I could have, if I wanted to, like when I got done with one glove, pulled the yarn out until I got to the same color and made them match, but I wanted gloves that were mismatched. Like they're still matching because they're the same yarn and the same colors, but the colors don't line up. Like the ribbing and thumb on this one is what like the middle portion is on this one. And I like that they're mismatched but matching at the same time. I really like it. I think this one might be my favorite, the way the first one came out, the way the color blocked on this one, but they're still very, very nice. I still like them a lot. But yeah, this is how the Premier puzzle yarn in the colorway Crossword came out. And I think I might, if I have enough yarn left, make a matching like the winter bucket hats. Sorry, my cat's walking across the table in front of the window. But yeah, one of the like winter bucket hats. I think I'm gonna make one of those because I need a hat for winter, and I'm not really I'm not really a big beanie person. I don't know. So I thought maybe I'd try out a matching bucket hat for my gloves, and I think that could be cute. So I'll give that a whirl, and I think this is a good colorway, and I think I have just enough yarn to do that. I think it's gonna be close. We'll see. But if I get that done, I'll post it on Instagram and show you my hat and my gloves together. But this is how they came out. I'm super excited. If you make these, please, 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 please post them on Facebook or Instagram and tag me. I would love to see them. In whatever colorway you made, in whatever size, shape you made. Like, I just want to see how everyone's turned out. I'm so excited. But yeah, I need to block them, but they're fine. But let me put them on to show you. Here is glove number 1 on my right hand. And since when you were going down and when we did the pull and we flipped the direction, that's kind of what's causing this. So when I block it, this will go away. But yeah, but see what I mean? Like they look kind of awkward because of how long this portion is compared to normal gloves. So I just have long fingers. And I know a lot of people aren't fans of mittens. I wasn't for the longest time until I realized like, because I was like, oh, you can't use your fingers, you can't use your hands. But I realized the other day, I was like, when you have gloves on, especially because now we're so dependent on like our phones and we use our phones so much, you can't really, I mean, they make the gloves with the stuff on them where you can use your phones, but I've had a pair and I still don't think you can use it that great. So my thought process was you can't really do anything with your hands or use anything when you have gloves on anyway. So instead of sitting there and putting on gloves for each finger, I'm gonna throw some mittens on, run out to my car, run into the store, whatever it is I'm doing where I'm outside and I'm cold, and just deal with my mittens, and it'll be fine. I can grab my purse, I can grab my phone, it's not a big deal. So yeah, I think this is just fine how it is. Yeah, I'm really happy with them. But anyway, thank you so much for watching if you made it this far into the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comment section below. So sorry I had to skip last week's video. I was incredibly sick. I'm feeling much better. Not 100%, but I'd say I'm like 78% better now. And I can't wait to see you in next week's video. Thank you for watching. Bye!